Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour. Trump says US close to meeting objectives in Iran war as Washington deploys additional troops to West Asia, including warships, as crisis deepens. US and Ukrainian negotiators to hold talks in Miami today amid the escalating tension as Russia attacks Kyiv's oil and gas facilities in Poltava. Heat wave shattering all records in western US with temperatures touching above 44 degrees Celsius. Experts cite climate change as reason. In badminton, India's Tanvi Sharma and Isharani Baruah qualify for Orleans Masters semis, while men's doubles pairing of Amsa Karudan and Arjun's campaign ended with a loss. India and parts of world celebrate Eid-ul-Fitr, marking culmination of the month-long Ramzan fasting. President Murmu and PM Modi extend their greetings on the festivities. And let's begin with the news just coming in. US diplomatic facility attacked in Baghdad. Drone attack at US diplomatic facility. Drone strike near Baghdad airport, and pro-Iranian terror group Ashab al-Qaf claimed the responsibility of the attack. This is the big breaking news that we are getting for you at this hour. US diplomatic facility attacked in Baghdad. Drone attack at US diplomatic facility in Baghdad. Drone strike near Baghdad airport. As Iran continues striking Gulf nations, Saudi Arabia intercepted 22 drones in the east of the country. The Defense Ministry posted on X. 10 drones intercepted and destroyed in the eastern region. The ministry later posted that its air defenses had shot down 12 more drones also in the east. As Iran continues striking Gulf nations, Saudi Arabia intercepted 22 drones in the east of the country. The Defense Ministry posted on X. 10 drones intercepted and destroyed in the eastern region. The ministry later posted that its air defenses had shot down 12 more drones also in the east. Kuwait's military said its air defense systems were responding to a missile and drone attack. This is the big breaking news that we are tracking this hour on DD India Newshour. For all those viewers who have just tuned in to DD India, the big breaking news just coming in. US diplomatic facility is attacked in Baghdad. Drone strike near Baghdad airport, and pro-Iranian terror group Ashab al-Qaf claimed the responsibility. As Iran continues striking Gulf nations, Saudi Arabia intercepted 22 drones in the east of the country. The Defense Ministry posted on X. 10 drones intercepted and destroyed in eastern region. The ministry later posted that its air defenses had shot down 12 more drones also in the east, and Kuwait's military said its air defense systems were responding to a missile and drone attack. The US military has deployed thousands more Marines to the West Asia as President Donald Trump accused NATO allies of cowardice over their reluctance to send forces to help open the Strait of Hormuz. 2,500 Marines, along with the United States ship Boxer, an amphibious assault ship and accompanying warships, has been deployed to the region. The additional deployments will add to the 50,000 US troops already in the West Asia and would bring 2 Marine expeditionary units to the region. The units can be used for carrying out strikes using the aircraft on board the ships or being deployed on the land. Trump said on Friday that the US was getting very close to meeting its objectives as it considers winding down its military efforts in the Iran war. Trump called on countries that use Strait of Hormuz to guard and police it as necessary. Earlier, the UK government authorized the United States to use its bases to strike Iranian sites threatening the Strait of Hormuz shipping lane. While Trump on Friday said the United Kingdom should have acted faster in offering help to the United States in its military action against Iran. Earlier on Friday, US President Donald Trump sharply criticized NATO allies over their lack of support during the US-Israel war against Iran, calling the longtime US allies cowards. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said, "Without the US, NATO is a paper tiger." He accused member nations of refusing to join what he described as a fight to stop a nuclear-powered Iran, adding that the conflict had now been militarily won with minimal risk to them. And DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us for more on this. Hi Akshay, a very good morning to you. A lot of things are happening, Akshay, when it comes to this war. US is deploying more troops in West Asia, including warships. What more information do you have on this, Akshay?
Well, if you see the situation that has, spiraled out of control of the US and Israel as they initially hoped for, they were hoping for the initial strikes that will take out the leadership of Iranian government. And then they were hoping for an uprising of the people to throw away the rest of the leadership and install some sort of a different government, perhaps one that favors the West more, that doesn't talk about nuclear program, that aligns itself more with the West. But that hasn't happened yet, and all the hopes that were initial there in between both Israel and the US, they haven't turned out exactly how they were expected to happen according to these two countries. If you see the situation right now, the global LPG crisis, the global oil shipping lanes under threat, global supply chains under threat, especially in the Strait of Hormuz, with from both sides, attacks happening on the ships that are passing from them. And US Navy essentially saying that they are not in charge there and they will not be able to escort each and every ship out. So that is a testament to the helplessness as far as controlling the Strait of Hormuz is concerned. And that perhaps is the reason why US is now forced to deploy troops there to ensure that the straits are secure. However, if you look at the Strait of Hormuz, it's a very narrow lane covered by, quite tall mountainous passes from both the sides. And from there, it is quite easy to target the passing tankers. And that perhaps is the reason why the situation is looking very different from what it was estimated to be initially when the attacks were carried out by both Israel and the US. So the situation has in fact turned upside down. Now it's the US and Israel that is seeking for more allies and more help in the region to contain the crisis that has emerged ever since they attacked, the IRGC as well as the Iranian government.
Situation has turned upside down and it's escalating, Akshay, with each passing day. But I want to ask you, Akshay, what is actually going on between US and its NATO allies?
Well, Siddharth, if you see from initial days of engagement, there was no consultation with NATO. Clearly, US took pride in saying that they have gone ahead with the strikes. They haven't discussed the strikes with many of the countries. In fact, UK, France, Japan, several of the NATO allies had come out in the open stating that they were not consulted before the strikes. Even a congressional approval was not taken before the strike. It was a surprise attack that was carried out. So if there was no permission that was taken from the NATO allies are now saying that to deploy their men, to deploy their troops, US should not be expecting to deploy NATO troops there in the war that was initiated without their consultation or without their approval. First we saw when there was a call given by the US president that more navy and ships should be deployed from the NATO countries in the Strait of Hormuz in those troubled waters. There was initially, consultations, but then most of the countries refused to deploy their warships, including the closest NATO allies of the UK and France. And now, similar situation, even more worse at this point in time, is to deploy troops, men on the ground that may be killed, that may be injured, that may impact the political situation in many of these NATO countries. So even if US deploys the troops, Israel deploys the troops, the NATO countries will be asked by their own people that if you were not consulted before initiating this war, then why are you deploying our people in this conflict? So that seems to be the biggest, disagreement between the two sides, and it seems that it is going to escalate further, and it is also deteriorating the NATO-US relations as well.
Definitely, Akshay. The situation is developing and we'll keep taking updates from you on this. But as of now, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for that analysis, Akshay. As the US and Israel's war with Iran enters 22nd day, Israel's military said it carried out two large waves of airstrikes on Tehran and central Iran, targeting weapons production facilities and sites storing ballistic missile launchers and components. Several strikes during the past hours, especially in Tehran, were hit by Israeli-American warplanes. There are also reports of airstrikes or explosions in Seher area to the south of Tehran. According to the Israeli military, Israel faced multiple waves of missile attacks from Iran, triggering air raid sirens in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, while explosions from interceptions were heard. Fragments from an Iranian missile struck Jerusalem on Friday, landing just outside the old city, Jews and Muslims releasing a photograph of the debris. Kuwait's state oil firm said its Mina Al Ahmadi refinery had suffered multiple drone attacks that set some units alight. The latest energy facility hit by Iran in recent days. The Trump administration has waived sanctions on the purchase of Iranian oil at sea for 30 days on Friday in its latest attempt to ease oil prices. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent posted on X that the waiver will bring some 140 million barrels of oil to global markets and help relieve pressure on energy supply. The move reflects White House worries that the surge in oil prices after nearly 3 weeks of US and Israeli strikes on Iran will hurt US businesses and consumers. Cuba, North Korea and Crimea are among regions excluded from the license, which will remain in effect until April 19. It was the third time the Treasury Department has temporarily waived sanctions on oil from US adversaries in a little more than 2 weeks. Tensions are rising in the Strait of Hormuz, a vital artery for global oil trade, as leading world powers weigh their response to recent attacks on commercial shipping. While 6 major nations have expressed readiness to help secure safe passage, they remain cautious, signaling that any concrete action will depend on a ceasefire and broader diplomatic progress.
Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the Netherlands have said that they are prepared to contribute to efforts aimed at securing maritime navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. The group strongly condemned recent attacks by Iran on unarmed commercial vessels, calling for coordinated international planning to safeguard shipping lanes. In a statement, the grouping said, "We condemn in the strongest terms recent attacks by Iran on unarmed commercial vessels in the Gulf, attacks on civilian infrastructure, including oil and gas installations, and the de facto closure of the Strait of Hormuz by Iranian forces. We express our readiness to contribute to appropriate efforts to ensure safe passage through the strait. We welcome the commitment of nations who are engaging in preparatory planning. However, France, Germany, and Italy clarified that any such initiative is not immediate. They stressed that participation would come only after a ceasefire is in place, indicating reluctance to escalate tensions in the short term. Earlier, US President Donald Trump urged NATO and global powers to step in and help reopen the strategic waterway. But allies have pushed back on immediate military involvement while remaining open to future discussions and contingency planning. Meanwhile, Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi, during a meeting with President Trump at the White House, condemned Iran's actions in the strait and expressed confidence that Trump's leadership could pave the way for peace in the region.
Japan condemns Iran's actions such as attacking the neighboring region and also the effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz as a matter of fact.
With global trade and energy supplies at stake, the focus now shifts to diplomacy and whether a ceasefire can unlock coordinated international action in the Strait of Hormuz. Bureau Report, DD India.
Iran is ready to let Japanese-related vessels pass through the Strait of Hormuz, citing Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. Araghchi told Japanese news agency that Iran has started talks with Tokyo about possibly opening the strait. Japan gets around 90% of its oil shipments via the strait, which Tehran has largely closed during the US-Israeli war on Iran. President Trump met Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi on Thursday, urging her to step up as he presses allies to send warships to help open the strait. Takaichi told reporters after the Washington summit that she had briefed Trump on what support Japan could and could not provide in the strait under its laws. New Iranian Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei, who has not been seen in public since the Israeli attack, issued a message of defiance. Khamenei said the enemies of the Islamic Republic were being defeated in the war against the US and Israel in a written message for the Persian New Year Nowruz. A US intelligence official said the statement raises questions about Khamenei's condition, as his father traditionally marked the New Year with a video address. The official said Khamenei's extended absence raises questions about his condition and who is running the country. The semi-official Iranian news agency Tasnim said Intelligence Minister Ismail Ahmadi was killed, the latest of dozens of leading figures assassinated by Israel. United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby said the airline will cancel about 5% of planned flights in the short term as jet fuel prices surge due to the West Asia conflict. The airline's current plan is to restore the full schedule this fall. The airline is cancelling about 3 percentage points of capacity in off-peak periods during the second and third quarters. It has also pulled services to Ben Gurion International Airport in Israel and the Dubai International Airport in UAE, affecting about 1 percentage point of capacity. The airline will pull another percentage point of capacity to Chicago International Airport following the Federal Aviation Administration's plans to cut flights this summer. And still to come on DD India Newshour. Paris mayoral runoff tightens ahead of vote. Cuba braces for US aggression amid energy crisis. Chocolate prices in the US are expected to remain high this Easter. But why? Stay tuned to know more.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar. अरे it fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
What we throw away doesn't disappear, it just changes form. Cutting this means changing the habits and systems behind it.
First we went with the awareness. So after that, slowly we started doing composting awareness. Then next, plastic ban something. So simultaneously here, I will tell mainly due to the citizen participation.
When the riverfront development and all that started, that is when you started realizing you're losing everything because it's no longer like it used to be. So that was a thing which caused me to start volunteering and doing what I could.
Quickly became clear that a new turbine would be too expensive for a small one to be installed on that site and not to be profitable anymore.
You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. On to Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Ukrainian and US negotiators will meet in the United States on Saturday in a bid to revive stalled talks on the ongoing conflict with Russia. Ukrainian President Zelensky in his address said that it was important that there are signals from the American side regarding their readiness to continue working within the existing negotiation formats to end the conflict.
It is also important that we got signals from the American side as to them being ready to continue the negotiations to end the Russian war on Ukraine along already available tracks. There has been a pause in the talks. It is time to end that, and we will do everything so that the talks can be truly meaningful. The Ukrainian team, especially the political side of it, is already on the way, and we expect a meeting on Saturday in the United States.
Last week, Russian President Vladimir Putin's envoy Kirill Dmitriev held talks with US negotiators in Florida, including President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner. The discussions in Florida came after the United States lifted some sanctions on Russian oil. A federal judge halted a restrictive Pentagon press policy by the administration of Donald Trump on Friday that could label journalists as security risks for seeking unauthorized information. A lawsuit filed by the New York Times in a federal court in Washington, D.C. alleged that Defense Department policy changes last year allowed officials to sideline reporters and news outlets over unfavorable coverage. It argued that these actions violated constitutional protections for free speech and due process. The government disputed that characterization and said policy is reasonable and necessary for national security. U.S. District Judge Paul Friedman acknowledged the need to protect troops and military plans, but said it was especially crucial for the public to have access to diverse information about government actions. The Pentagon has not yet commented on the ruling, and the government is expected to appeal. The H-1B visa program, a key route for skilled Indian professionals to work in the US, is under scrutiny as lawmakers debate reforms amid labor shortages and an aging population. At the same time, they are working to protect the OPT program, which lets international students work after graduation. Since Indians make up a large share of H-1B recipients, any policy change is closely watched in India. Here's a report on the current discussions surrounding the H-1B visa program.
The H-1B visa program remains a primary pathway for skilled foreign workers, particularly in technology and engineering, to work in the United States. The program has long been debated in Washington, with policymakers balancing the need to attract global talent against concerns over wages, worker protections, and the structure of visa allocation. At a recent congressional hearing, policymakers questioned whether the current lottery-based H-1B visa system is still effective. Proposals include shifting to a wage-based selection model and allowing greater job mobility for workers. So what is H-1B visa? The H-1B visa is a non-immigrant work visa issued by the United States government that allows US companies to hire foreign professionals in specialized fields such as IT engineering, finance, healthcare, and research. It is designed for jobs that require specialized knowledge and at least a bachelor's degree or equivalent qualification. The visa is employer sponsored, means that individuals cannot apply on their own and must have a job offer from a US employer. It is typically granted for up to 3 years and can be extended to a maximum of 6 years. However, the number of visas issued each year is capped and selection is often done through a lottery system. Any shift to wage-based system could favor highly paid skilled workers, potentially benefiting experienced Indian professionals while making it harder for entry-level applicants. Greater work mobility could also improve job flexibility and wages for Indians already working in the US. In a parallel move, US lawmakers are working to protect the Optional Practical Training or the OPT program. The legislation seeks to amend the Immigration and Nationality Act to formally allow international students to undertake practical training and employment authorization tied to their field of study, including after completing degree requirements. Lawmakers said codifying it would prevent abrupt policy shifts and ensure continuity. The move comes after Trump administration signaled in November that it could eliminate the OPT program, raising concerns that US trained talent could shift to competing economies. For India, the issue is particularly significant. Indian students are among the largest cohorts of international students in the United States, and many rely on OPT as a bridge between education and employment. The debate highlights a broader shift in US immigration policy, balancing two priorities: attracting global talent to boost economic growth while addressing concerns around wages, job competition, and system fairness. Lawmakers increasingly view skilled immigration as essential to sustaining innovation, productivity, and long term growth. For India, where thousands rely on these pathways each year, any change in US visa policy will be closely watched, as it could reshape opportunities for both professionals and students. Aarti Rana's report for DD India.
In France, left-wing Paris mayoral candidate Emmanuel Grégoire described Sunday's runoff as existential, portraying his main rival as backed by the far right during a final campaign rally. The wide first-round vote gap between Emmanuel Grégoire and Conservative candidate Rachida Dati is expected to shrink. This follows Dati's alliance with centrist Pierre-Yves Bournazel and the withdrawal of far-right candidate Sarah Knafo. Hard-left France unbowed candidate Sofia Chikirou will remain in the race, potentially limiting votes for Emmanuel Grégoire. Grégoire scored around 38% of the vote in the first round, with Dati behind on 25%. Bournazel, Chikirou and Knafo each received between 10 to 12% approximately. In Slovenia, hundreds of protesters in Ljubljana carried cutouts of former Prime Minister Janez Janša on Friday, ahead of country's parliamentary election. The protest became tense as small scuffles broke out between demonstrators and police in front of the US Embassy. The demonstration comes just 2 days before Sunday's parliamentary election, where Liberal Prime Minister Robert Golob faces a strong challenge from Janša. The campaign has been overshadowed by allegations of foreign meddling and corruption. Polls indicate that neither party is likely to secure a majority in the 90-seat parliament. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel said Cuba is preparing for possible US aggression, citing Donald Trump's warning that all pressure had been applied and the only option left was to take over the country. The Cuban leader emphasized that the country had launched a defense preparation plan based on the concept of war of all the people, which he described as defensive rather than aggressive. He also stressed that Cuba's revolutionary leadership remained united and that all decisions were made collectively.
We recognize that there could be an aggression against Cuba, and we have unleashed a preparation plan to raise our people's readiness for defense in the interest of the war of all the people, which is our defense concept and which is a defensive conception, not aggressive, and to defend the country with the preparation and the preparation of all the people in defense. I can responsibly affirm that the leadership of the Cuban Revolution is united, that all our decisions are made collectively and collegially, and that, of course, in that college and in that united leadership is present the historic leaders of the Cuban Revolution, Army General Raul Castro.
While a vessel carrying humanitarian aid departed from the port of Progreso in Yucatan on Friday, heading to Cuba as part of a growing international effort amid energy crisis. The Mexican Navy deployed a 170-meter warship called the Papaloapan to escort the mission. The mission includes 3 ships carrying 30 tons of supplies and 40 people with additional aids. And let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Chocolate prices in the US are expected to remain high this Easter despite a sharp drop in cocoa costs. Experts say prices remain elevated as products were made when cocoa was expensive, though relief may reach consumers later in 2026. Colombia has introduced a humanoid robot named Vicente in Bogota to assist in security operations. Equipped with cameras and real-time monitoring features, the robot can perform basic human-like actions while enhancing surveillance. And still to come on DD India Newshour, we will tell you about how things are shaping up ahead of assembly polls in Assam. Stay tuned to know weather updates from parts of the world. The third day of Navratri is devoted to Ma Chandrakanta. We'll tell you more about it. Stay tuned.
What we throw away doesn't disappear, it just changes form. Cutting this means changing the habits and systems behind it.
First we went with the awareness. So after that slowly we started doing composting awareness. Then next plastic ban something. So simultaneously here I will tell mainly due to the citizen participation.
When the riverfront development and all that started, that is when you started realizing you're losing everything because it's no longer like it used to be. So that was a thing which caused me to start volunteering and doing what I could.
Quickly became clear that a new turbine would be too expensive for a small one to be installed on that site and not to be profitable anymore.
You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and a quick recap of the headlines. Trump says US close to meeting objectives in Iran war as Washington deploys additional troops to West Asia, including warships. US and Ukrainian negotiators to hold talks in Miami today amid the escalating tension as Russia attacks Kyiv's oil and gas facilities in Poltava. Heat wave shattering all records in western US with temperatures touching above 44 degrees Celsius. Experts cite climate change as reason. In badminton, India's Tanvi Sharma and Isharani Baruah qualify for Orleans Masters semis, while men's doubles pairing of Amsa Karunan and Arjun's campaign ended with a loss. India and parts of the world celebrate Eid-ul-Fitr, marking culmination of the month-long Ramzan fasting. President Murmu and PM Modi extend their greetings on the festivity. India has said that freedom of navigation remains a core national interest amid the ongoing tensions in West Asia. External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in touch with global leaders to ensure that maritime routes remain open and secure. Here's a report.
Replying to a question during the daily interministerial briefing on the West Asia situation, spokesperson of the External Affairs Ministry, Ranveer Jaiswal, said that for a country like India, freedom of navigation is of utmost importance. He added that to achieve this, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is personally engaging with world leaders.
Prime Minister has spoken to 5 world leaders yesterday. He spoke to leaders of Oman, Malaysia, France, Jordan, and Qatar. In these conversations, Prime Minister put forth India's position on the ongoing conflict in West Asia. He highlighted the need to prioritize dialogue and diplomacy for de-escalation and the subsequent restoration of peace and stability. Prime Minister strongly condemned attacks on energy infrastructure. Prime Minister and the various leaders reiterated their support for safe and free navigation through the Strait of Hormuz.
Randhir Jaiswal further informed that more Indian nationals from Iran have crossed into neighboring Armenia and Azerbaijan to facilitate their return. Many of them have already reached India safely.
913 भारतीय नागरिक आर्मीनिया, ईरान से आर्मीनिया और अजरबैजान में एम्बेसी की मदद से वो सीमा पार कर चुके हैं और कई लोग इसमें से वापस आ भी चुके हैं। पहले जैसे कि मैंने बताया था कि 284 तीर्थयात्री वहाँ पर फंसे हुए थे, वो सभी 284 तीर्थयात्री अब भारत वापस आ गए हैं।
The government is holding daily interministerial briefings to provide accurate updates on the availability of LPG and other essential supplies amid the crisis. Joint Secretary in the Petroleum Ministry, Sujata Sharma, who was also part of the interministerial briefing, said that while there are concerns, LPG supply to consumers continues uninterrupted. She also noted that petrol and diesel refineries are functioning at full capacity. She also underlined that only prices of premium category of petrol have been increased, but other prices are as earlier.
डोमेस्टिक सप्लाई में कोई कटौती नहीं है। नॉर्मल पेट्रोल में कोई प्राइस इंक्रीज नहीं हुआ है, सिर्फ एक प्रीमियम कैटेगरी जो है उसमें कुछ इंक्रीज है, and that is hardly 2, 3 or 4% of the entire petrol which is sold every day.
On the safety of Indians abroad, Additional Secretary Asim R. Mahajan said that the government is in constant contact with the Indian diaspora and local authorities. He added that coordination efforts are robust and nearly 3 lakh Indians stranded in the Gulf region have returned.
We continue to proactively assist seafarers, students, stranded Indian nationals and short-term visitors for visas, consular services and logistical support where required. Since February 28th, around 300,000 passengers have returned from the region to India.
Meanwhile, ensuring the safety of Indian seafarers, a Special Secretary in the Shipping Ministry, Rajesh Kumar Sinha, said that all ships in the Strait of Hormuz are secure and 25 Indian sailors have been repatriated. While diplomacy is at work, it is expected that more ships will be coming through the Strait of Hormuz in coming days. Akhilesh Suman's report for DD India.
India is accelerating its transformation into a global logistics powerhouse even as geopolitical tensions in West Asia continue to disrupt global supply chains. In a strong push to boost efficiency and reduce costs, the government is undertaking major reforms to modernize the country's logistics ecosystem. India's logistics cost about 7.97% of GDP or 24 lakh crore is now at the heart of a major reform push, marking a phase of rapid structural transformation powered by policy reforms, digital innovation and infrastructure expansion. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has emphasized resilience amid global supply disruptions, reaffirming India's proactive approach. Flagship initiatives like the National Logistics Policy and PM Gati Shakti are driving integration and data-led planning, while the SMILE program is already improving freight movement, last mile delivery and congestion in pilot cities. With strong policy support and clear direction, India is steadily emerging as a resilient, efficient logistics hub, strengthening its global competitiveness. The External Affairs Ministry's fact-check unit has debunked claims on social media that US has asked permission from India to support a military asset that will be used to bomb Iran. MEA has termed these claims as false and baseless and asked people to please stay alert against such false and baseless claims and posts on social media. Parties across poll-bound Assam, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal and Puducherry continue to release candidate lists for the assembly elections, which are set to be conducted between April 9 and April 29, 2026. In Assam, the stage is set for a high-voltage electoral battle as key political leaders begin filing their nominations ahead of the upcoming Assam assembly elections. Here is a report by DD India's Subina Roy.
The Legislative Assembly elections in Assam will be held on 9th of April 2026 to elect representatives to the 126-member Assembly, with counting scheduled on 4th of May 2026. The ruling alliance led by the Bharatiya Janata Party has finalized its seat-sharing arrangement. The BJP will contest 89 seats, while its allies Assam Gan Parishad will contest 26 seats and Bodoland People's Front will field candidates in 11 seats. On the other hand, the opposition alliance brings together 6 parties, including the Indian National Congress, Raijor Dal, Assam Jatiya Parishad, Communist Party of India Marxist, All Party Hill Leaders Conference and Communist Party of India Marxist-Leninist Liberation. As per the seat-sharing formula, the Congress will contest 87 seats, Raijor Dal 11 seats, Assam Jatiya Parishad 10 seats, while CPIM and APH-LC will contest 2 seats each. Meanwhile, the nomination process has picked up pace with several high-profile candidates entering the fray. Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma filed his nomination from the Jalukbari constituency, seeking another term. Leader of opposition Deva Brata Saikia has filed his nomination as a Congress candidate from Nazira. In Upper Assam, senior BJP leader Prashant Phukan has filed his nomination from Dibrugarh and seeking his 5th consecutive mandate.
आगे का जो इलेक्शन है, इलेक्शन में हम लोग बहुत कोशिश है कि नरेंद्र मोदी के नेतृत्व में, जो हिमंत बिस्वा शर्मा जी के नेतृत्व में जो देश के तरक्की हो रहा है, उसके लिए आगे का दिन डिब्रूगढ़ से भारतीय जनता पार्टी का ओर से मैं कैंडिडेट होके यहाँ नॉमिनेशन अभी डाल दिया, तो आगे का दिन बहुत अच्छा होगा.
Adding to the contest in Dibrugarh, the Assam Jatiya Parishad has fielded Menak Patra, making it one of the most closely watched constituencies in the region. At the same time, AGP President Lurin Jyoti Gogoi is contesting from the Khowang constituency, aiming to strengthen the party's presence.
असम का संकट का घड़ी में देने वाला जो आवाज है, वो आवाज ही मैंने देंगे और ये वादा में रखा हूँ.
With key leaders in the fray and alliances clearly drawn, the electoral contest in Assam is shaping up to be a fierce and closely watched political battle.
Today, candidates are filing their nominations in the Dibrugarh constituencies and many other constituencies as well. It is to be looked forward who comes into power this time in Assam. With DDK Dibrugarh team, Subina Roy, DD India.
Now on to some global weather updates. First from India, Delhi woke up to a cold, foggy and rain-soaked morning as an active western disturbance moved across northwest India, bringing a rare cold spell in March to the capital city. The eastern and central parts of the country are experiencing more volatile weather. The states of West Bengal, Jharkhand, Odisha, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh are experiencing widespread rainfall with thunderstorms and strong winds. The western Himalayan region, including Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, has experienced heavy rain and snow as well as hailstorms. A historic early season heat wave swept across the western United States on Friday. Experts cite climate change as a reason. The unusual heat has already broken March temperature records in at least 65 cities across states, including Arizona, California and Idaho. Temperatures soared to an unprecedented 44.4 degrees Celsius in multiple locations. Authorities issued extreme heat warnings across much of the Southwest from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. Climate scientists warn the event is not just rare but deeply alarming. According to the World Weather Attribution Network, such a heat wave would occur only once every 500 years in today's climate and would have been impossible without human-caused global warming. Authorities in the US state of Hawaii ordered the immediate evacuation of around 4,000 residents after severe rainfall. In fact, happening. The Wahiawa Dam, located in northern Oahu, is at imminent risk of failure. The warning raised fears of potentially life-threatening flooding in downstream communities. Governor Josh Green said torrential rains had triggered serious flooding across the region, pushing reservoir water levels to dangerous heights. Large parts of Hawaii remain under flood watches and warnings, with National Weather Service reporting especially hazardous conditions in northern Oahu. The Pacific Archipelago continues to battle extreme weather as emergency crews monitor the dam and assess the risk of a catastrophic breach. Tropical cyclone Narelle was forecast to hit Australia's Northern Territory on Saturday after a day earlier, bringing destructive winds, heavy rain and power outages to the country's northeast coast. Narelle, a Category 2 system moving west in the Gulf of Carpentaria, would likely reach the remote east of the territory late. On Friday, Narelle made landfall as a Category 4 system, a rung short of the strongest in neighbouring Queensland state. Weather officials later downgraded the storm as it moved inland. Storm Therese batters Canary Islands, leading to cancellation of outdoor events, road closures and disruption to air travel. Storm Therese hit Spain's Canary Islands, bringing strong winds, heavy rainfall and large waves. Floodwaters were seen rushing towards the sea as tourists watched massive waves crash along the coast. The storm also caused snowfall on higher ground around Mount Teide in Tenerife, with warnings of flooding and dangerous sea conditions. Weather is expected to ease by Sunday, though showers may continue over the weekend. Saturday marks the third day of Chaitra Navratri. The third day of Navratri is devoted to Ma Chandraghanta, who is revered for bringing peace, prosperity and courage, and symbolizes the elimination of negativity. She embodies both bravery and calmness and is commonly linked with the color royal blue. Today, the festival of Eid is being celebrated across the country. The festival of Eid marks the conclusion of the holy month of Ramadan. On this occasion, an atmosphere of great enthusiasm and festivity is visible everywhere. Let's take a closer look at this report.
The festival of Eid is being celebrated across the entire country today with great enthusiasm. It is the most significant festival for Muslims. Eid is celebrated at the conclusion of the holy month of Ramadan. After observing a month-long fast, this day arrives bearing a message of joy and gratitude. It radiates smiles and love in every direction. Eid-ul-Fitr is not merely a festival, rather it is a day that conveys a message of patience, gratitude and humanity. The festival of Eid conveys to us a message of brotherhood and mutual love. It teaches us the values of love, tolerance and caring for one another. On the occasion of Eid, especially during the Eid prayers, Fitra is distributed among the poor in the neighborhood, ensuring that the underprivileged neighbors can also partake in this celebration. On the day of Eid, all Muslims don new clothes and proceed to the Idgah to offer their prayers. At the Idgah, Muslims express their gratitude to Allah and pray for the progress and prosperity of the nation. Following the prayers, people embrace one another and exchange Eid greetings. Everyone celebrates Eid together and visits their loved ones.
यही ख्वाहिश है कि हिंदुस्तान में चैन सुकून अमन रहे, सभी इदारों में एक दूसरे के साथ भाईचारा रहे।
हमारे मुल्क में एक खुशहाली रहे, अमन रहे और भाईचारा रहे, और हिंदुस्तान जो है एक गंगा जमुना की हमारी एक तहजीब है, सभ्यता है।
Preparations for Eid begins well in advance. All the shops and markets bustles with activity. Everyone purchases new clothes, vermicelli, sweets and dry fruits for the occasion. The markets are brightly illuminated with lights. Shops selling bangles and henna for women are beautifully decorated. On this occasion, the children's joy knows no bounds. During Eid, children decorate their residential colonies with colorful lights. Thus, it can be said that this festival fosters a spirit of joy, spirituality, and human dignity among the people. Bureau Report, DD India.
President Draupadi Murmu extended her greetings to the countrymen. In a post on X, President wrote, and I quote, "Heartiest congratulations to all fellow citizens, especially Muslim sisters and brothers, on the blessed occasion of Eid-ul-Fitr. This festival imparts the lesson of self-restraint, service, philanthropy and compassion towards the underprivileged sections. Let us, on this occasion, resolve to strengthen society and the nation." Unquote. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also extended his greetings on Eid-ul-Fitr and wished that this day further brotherhood and kindness all around. May everyone be happy and healthy. Muslims across Sri Lanka are also celebrating Eid-ul-Fitr today with prayers, charity and community gatherings. Since early morning, large congregations assembled at mosques and open grounds nationwide for special Eid prayers, with one of the main gatherings held at Carl Face Green in Colombo. Worshippers exchanged greetings and embraced the festive spirit as families and friends came together to mark the occasion. Poetry is more than just words. It is emotion, imagination, and a reflection of life itself. Across centuries and cultures, it has brought people closer through shared thoughts and feelings. To celebrate this beautiful art that promotes dialogue and peace, World Poetry Day is observed every year on March 21. Here's why it matters. Let's take a closer look at its importance.
Poetry is a form of composition that uses rhythm, rhyme, meter, and figurative language to express human experiences with deep emotion and artistic beauty. Through metaphors, similes, personification, and imagery, poetry not only evokes personal human sensitivities but also expresses ideas, emotions, and perspectives in a universal way. To promote this emotional, cultural, and expressive role of poetry worldwide, World Poetry Day is celebrated every year on March 21. This day, dedicated to poetic literature, was established in 1999 during the 30th session of UNESCO held in Paris. The first World Poetry Day was celebrated on March 21, 2000. Since then, it has been observed every year with much enthusiasm across the globe. Poetry serves as a powerful medium to highlight deep emotions, ideas, and social issues in society. The purpose of celebrating World Poetry Day is to preserve poetry as an art form and to honor its unique power. It also aims to promote linguistic diversity through poetic expression and to provide opportunities for endangered languages to reach a wider audience. Literature is considered a mirror of society and a means to promote peace and inclusion. Keeping this in mind, this year's theme for World Poetry Day is Poetry as a Bridge for Peace and Inclusion. On the occasion of World Poetry Day, poetry readings, literary seminars, and cultural programs are organized around the world. This day offers a great opportunity to honor writers and poets, promote the oral tradition of poetry, and encourage collaboration between poetry and other art forms such as theatre, dance, and music, celebrating one of humanity's most valuable cultural and linguistic expressions. Bureau Report, DD India.
You're watching DD India Newshour. Time now for some sports news. And in badminton, India's good run in women's singles at the 2026 Orleans Masters Super 300 continued as Tanvi Sharma and Isharani Baruah won their respective quarter-final matches on Friday. Tanvi, the 17-year-old phenom, beat the 6th seed Natusuki Nidaira of Japan 21-14, 21-14. She will next face former world champion Nozomi Okuhara of Japan in the semi-final on Saturday. Later in the day, Isharani advanced to the semi-finals after fellow Indian Malvika Bansod retired midway from their All-India quarter-final clash. Elsewhere, the Indian men's doubles duo of Hariharan Amsa Karunan and MR Arjun bowed out of contention, losing 12-21, 20-22 in straight games to the third-seeded pair of Leo Rolly Carnedo and Bagus Maulana from Indonesia. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on Android and iOS platform, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Prasar Bharati from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.